I'm Sigi Leibmann from International Timberframes. I started my apprenticeship in Switzerland almost 40 years ago and have been in the mass timber industry since. In 1992, I was part of a team that developed the dull laminated timber system in Switzerland, and I moved to Canada in 99. I founded International Timberframes over 20 years ago, and we started producing dull laminated timbers here in Golden in 2017. We like to inspire North America to build with natural solid wood so that we can build the healthiest and most sustainable homes that last for generations. I now like to pass on to Tim Politis so he can introduce himself.
Thank you, Sigi. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here today with you. My name is Tim Politis. I am the principal and owner of One Line Studio. We began our studio about 10 years ago with the idea that the first line, often the first gesture on paper, is significant. It's the first thought process that pushes you forward and makes you inspired about new things. As we grew, we had the opportunity to build our own studio, partnering with a nonprofit next to us to purchase the land from them and share costs together. And we were looking for a great partner to build the studio and fabricate with mass timber, particularly DLT, dull laminated timber systems, that Sigi and his expertise turned out to be a wealth of not only experience and knowledge, but the right sort of partnership to work through the final details and create our studio. I'm going to show you our first sketch. As I said, the first line on paper is really significant. This is where we started. It was about how lines can interplay with each other and move it through. As we were trying to develop a studio, we asked ourselves the question, if we can't try new things, how can we expect our clients to try new things? And this why is extremely important. When we were looking at this drawing here, you could see that the sketch and the final product align rather well. It's remarkable. I don't think I've ever had a project that thoroughly follow the sketch. And certainly there's a lot of bumps and challenges along the way. But our quest in designing an architecture studio is, number one, how can we explore new thoughts? How can we go beyond that and look at sustainable, long-term and durable approaches to building things? And how can we find inventive ways to solve problems? In this particular case, we were able to use mass timber and the wood products, which were the most forgiving of all the materials, to create a design that's integrated so that we are creating a combination of steel and glass throughout this whole thing. As we worked early, we provided a SketchUp model that to Sigi and to other team members to work through this. As you'll see here, we have a series of wood that surrounds the building inside structural and the roof panels, but then we have fins that are made of cedar that continue the wood down back to the ground on the glazing side. These wood fins create a pattern that's based loosely on the Fibonacci sequence, a mathematical pattern that is often used in art and in nature. And in this case, it creates the rhythm that's necessary for this building. Combining all these materials, though, we relied very closely on the partnerships we made with the installers, with the fabricators, particularly International Timberframes in Golden, Canada was incredible about helping us make this happen. As you can see, we used modified timber even on the rear side of the building. As a quick study, it took us 7 years. You can see the site here. We're on the edge of an urban setting with very dense new urban dense development going up north to us, close to light rail, but then there's an open space. And the idea is that how the building breathes both from the experience inside and from the outside with that open space environment. The natural way to make this happen was using wood. And we were intrigued by DLT. We didn't know its limits. We didn't understand what we could push this with, but we had a structural engineer who's done other mass timber projects, and we partnered with Sigi here, who can lead the way, who inspired us to find the correct details, to find the way to make this happen. Sigi, would you like to take the lead from here?
I guess if you want to switch to the next slide with the shop. Thank you, Tim. Here is a picture from our shop. You can see in the right back corner the panels or the billets that were pre-assembled before they got assembled on our sawhorses to the wall panels and roof panels. All these panels have been handcrafted, and you can see it's quite a tight space, so that's why we're going to move into a larger shop here, and we also actually developed a prototype for our billet production, and hopefully going to be up and running early next year. During this process, we had to do quite a bit of moving of materials, so we are also raised the question about installation and how can we lift the panels from the horizontal surface from the truck into the vertical surface to make sure that we don't have any unnecessary strains and deformment of the panels when they're going to be lifted from the truck. The site was quite had little space for moving materials, so we planned to have the installation coming off right off the truck into position. So it was also crucial that we planned the loading of the truck in reverse sequence to make sure that the first panels needed on site are also on top of the package. Also, with the planning on a 2D drawings, it's easy to convey all the information. Like any drawing is a non-verbal communication piece that can be passed on from one person to the next and will make life easier and clearer for everybody involved. And it was quite interesting here when I gave the drawing to the truck driver. He was actually quite excited and said, "Oh, I never got a drawing how my truck will be loaded," and it will definitely also help when we go across the border. If they have any questions, they can actually see why those bundles have the shape they have.
Sigi, to add to that cross-border challenges, we were dealing with subs who are all over the place in different states, in different parts of North America. And we also had the challenges of convincing bankers to allow transfers across the border during the height of COVID to make sure that things would arrive on time and in order. So there's definitely challenges working cross-border, but I have to say the benefits of doing that are substantial when you finally have a strong person who can coordinate the logistics of that and the sequencing that needs to happen as a team to make that work. Sigi, would you like to discuss the start of the actual sequencing?
Yeah, here we created a little video for the sequencing so that any trade knew what they needed to do prior to our panel's arrival. You can see here after the foundation was in place, some steel pieces needed to be installed. Then the main floor framing was installed after that. And it was just a back and forwards from different trades, and they had to do it in the right sequence. Here, as soon as the subfloor was in, there was some more metal needed to be installed so that actually the DLT walls could be fastened to that and secured. After that, the exterior walls got put up and the upper floor, and that also then must be able to use as scaffolding. After that, the metal was installed for the main building and the mezzanine. Then the mezzanine panels were installed and the roof panels on the main roof. After that, some more steel was installed and the final roof panels were installed after that. That was all. We were involved with the installation, so I never even set foot on the job site. So that's why I want to pass it on to Tim, because he was there and knew what happened there.
So one of the great lessons that we learned, this sequencing model turned out to be such an amazing help. It really gathered people who are used to doing trades on their own and realizing the significance of having to work together on the site to create the building and to construct it. So you can see here, this is the first view when they were creating the platform to build off of. And as we got to the site, Sigi had commented on the fact that we had very limited space. So the staging area was the truck itself, and trying to get the things over the pits into the building in the right place. You can see how they were bracing the building on the side here. We have a quick video here and fast forward of how the first panel was installed. And in these cases, there's challenges that come up in logistics that need to be worked through in the field. But what we learned is the more planning that can be done, the better. And if anything, despite the fact that we worked quite well with everybody and trying to get them up to speed, what we're working with are the people that are foremen and supervisors and owners of their sub-trade companies. And what we could push further on in the future is to actually work with everybody who's actually in the field, explaining to them how significant what they're doing and the pieces and parts that go together. I think there's an amazing opportunity there to actually help people envision what can be made. It actually gives them more pride and makes them understand what it is you're trying to accomplish. Pieces going into place, joints were specifically designed so that not only would it be the right panel size to put on a truck, but that we did this at points where ductwork was coming up. So we have hidden slots in the wood that integrates mechanical systems. As we got through in the framing that Sigi had shown in this sequencing, there were a few challenges. Actually, I'm going to stop here for a quick second so Sigi can discuss how we overcame a few of the challenges on the site with tolerance. Go ahead, Sigi.
Yeah, I guess we during that process we had lots of Zoom meetings to make sure everybody was on board here, and I also want to say I have to thank all the other trades involved to actually make this great project happening, because it was literally just collaboration and working together made this happen. And one time the steel guys were a little bit overexcited and put a steel piece in too soon, and they had to take it back again to actually work with the sequence. And same thing there afterwards, we could say, I'm sorry, but it was clear on the sequence that this piece is coming on after a certain step. So that's where the sequencing helped. The other thing is too, when the roof panels started to be installed, the framer realized that the wall panels and the steel was actually off by roughly an inch. And I assume it's just that the steel guys used the center of the concrete wall as a reference rather than the panels of the DLT panels to ensure that the distance was correctly. Same thing there. We had a quick Zoom meeting, and within a half an hour we agreed on an option how to solve it. And it was apparent that the wood is the most forgiving material to work with, and especially DLT, because there was no steel parts in it, so it was simple to to, cut anything on site without with any big efforts. Yes, I was going to say, we did discover the difficulties when you prefab pieces in creating tolerances, especially DLT, because there was no steel parts in it. So it was simple to cut anything on site without with any big efforts. Do you have anything else to say there, Tim?
Yes, I was going to say we did discover the difficulties when you're prefabbing pieces in creating tolerances. If everybody's within tolerance, that's great. But if all the tolerance is going in, let's say, the reduced direction, you have a big challenge. So one thing we discovered, though, is in collaborating with many trades at the same time and do these Zoom meetings, we were able to prevent situations for like one sub. The framer had the best idea initially to cut these panels while they're suspended in midair. And we said that is a huge safety concern. And let's find a different way to do this. So working together, we were able to find ways to do this where it would be much safer to cut where we would and correct this issue. The interesting thing about the DLT is that it was the most forgiving material. Steel was much more difficult to amend, as well as concrete and glass, but the wood was the one thing that actually was very forgiving on site. As we went on into developing this project, we were able to integrate eventually lighting that would come through these grooves. We did Sigi, did you want to add anything about this picture between the difference between NLT and DLT?
I guess, yeah, the NLT and DLT for us, it's the big benefit is in any case, if any more alterations need to be done, any drilling or cutting on site is easily possible, where with a nail lamp it would be quite complicated. The other thing, I guess, another learning that we have from this project is, especially with multiple trades, they would need to have one person that is kind of in charge for the accuracy and kind of make sure that coordination of accuracy is done. So I think the adjustment could have been picked up if the framer, for example, would have told the steel guy what actually the reference line on his wall would need to be. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Once we slitted the last panels, we were able to work into glazing. The glazers loved the glass so much because we were trying to reduce the amount of materials on here. It's a very open glazing concept looking after the surroundings, that they want us to stop at this point and say, why would you add anything else? And then as you see from this angle, when you actually add in the wood fins, it transforms the space. It really does connect the ground to the sky in this natural vegetation area. And we were able to bring a certain identity to this building that transcends beyond what we normally see. One of the best things about this, we always try to be thoughtful about every piece that we choose and select for our projects. And these wood fins were essential because they reduce the glare on the glass. And it helps two things. One, hopefully fewer animals run into the glass itself, insects and birds particularly. And then more importantly, on the inside, it creates an environment where you have less glare on your screens, which is ideal for an office environment. One of the unique things that we had to deal with, as you can see in this photo, is it's a very open concept on the inside, but how do you maintain the beauty of things like DLT and the natural wood quality without messing it up with things that are required by code, such as sensors, alarms, and those types of things. We were able to connect a basement, a main level, and a mezzanine from a fire code standpoint and stay within the type A. So we didn't have to deal with, type 5B construction. We didn't have to deal with any of those issues, but we did have to convince people like electrical inspectors and more importantly, subs in the field that we can follow NEC codes and we can still make things work. So we have lighting that's actually as J boxes in the basement that are wrapped up with adjustable cables and heights up above coming through the flutes of the wood. So you have a few pictures here about the entry. Sigi, would you like to discuss the qualities of building with this wood and how long it might last?
Yeah, I always say this will last at least 100 years, because back in Switzerland, there's many houses that are 400 years and older in solid wood, and people are still living in it even with the current standard of living and with no sacrifices. So I think in this day and age, if we don't build houses that last for more than 100 years, then we better go fishing, because I think we own it to our future generations that we do our best to actually build products that last long and also at end of life can be reused or put back into the natural cycle. Also, with this building, I really like the fact that there's all those different materials involved. Lately, there's a lot of animosity in the building industry. Like the wood is against the steel and concrete is against wood. I think this project is a prime example that you can create something beautiful with integrating the right products in a creative way. And every product can actually, every material can shine on its own and together. So this is a perfect combination of wood, steel, concrete, and glass. Also, with the DLT, same thing there. We want our product to shine, and the optimal spans for our product is 12 to 16 feet. We can go up to 20 feet. In this case, the longest panels were 24 feet. But as soon we go past the general number sizes, the cost will increase. And we want to keep the DLT clean without glues, so we don't do any finger joints or any joining of the materials. So that's why we're restricted by those lengths. Back to you, Tim.
Well, I was going to say the fingering is definitely something to explore in the future. I think there's opportunities to use smaller members, and we're actually hoping that we can work on more projects with Sigi International Timberframes to be able to explore what can be done that way. As Sigi had kind of alluded to, all the materials are left in their natural state, whether it's wood, steel, concrete, or glass. Everything is just meant to age over time. And if it ages together over time, I think there's the longer opportunity to keep buildings for an extended period so that they last for hundreds of years, ideally, or longer even. One of the things that we discovered, and you can see here that we've integrated the lighting and through the flutes and in hiding those elements, but really integrating them. What we're discovering is the sound quality in here is terrific. Not that there isn't sound, but that the alternating panels of 2x8s and 2x6s create the right amount of pockets where there's just not a bounce. And so people don't get irritated by that. It kind of calms them to not hear those echoing voices. We're surrounded in a biophilic world here, using the natural landscape around us, taking the grasslands that are just down the street in the open space and extending them through the waterways up through this property, and just realizing that there's a smell that's amazing because the fact that we're using DLT, there's no glue system in here. We're not getting any off-gassing in the VOCs of those. We're smelling natural wood, and that's really incredible. It's just created an amazing workplace environment where you enjoy coming to every day. As we move to our next adventures, I would say Sigi had kind of alluded to the fact that you can use smaller members perhaps, but what we're really interested in doing is taking a commodity like wood and like these panel systems and saying how you can really make them integrated into full systems so that they have a viability that's beyond just the fact that they absorb carbon, that they are very beneficial environments and they're creative spaces that can be created with this. I turn it over to you, Sigi. Would you like to add anything else before we go to questions and answers?
Yeah, I think same thing here. All I want to add is that we are proud that we were able to be part of this project and enjoyed the great collaboration of all the people involved. And yeah, we are happy to talk to anybody who wants to build a healthy, sustainable home that lasts for generations.